Well, my buddy Brad's here. He made a trip to our favorite steel place down in Charlotte, Foils. You guys have seen that place on some of the older videos. It's a great scrap yard. It's one of the few scrap yards they let customers just wander around and get stuff. So he picked up this big baby here, and I got some plate. So this will be the next project, so you guys stay tuned. Well, hey everybody, it's Tom here. Welcome back to my shop. So you saw the title of the video. It is time to get a jib crane for the shop. Why a jib crane? Because I've got a forklift, I've got a gantry. Well, forklift works and the gantry kind of works, but jib crane would be way easier and more user-friendly, especially over there at the jet lathe, trying to get the 4-jaw on and off using the forklift is a pain. I mean, the thing is, trying to do it by yourself and trying to get it lined up, and because of the nanny controls and the forklift, you have to be sitting in the seat to be able to activate the hydraulics. So it's not like I can try to get the chuck lined up, just reach over there, hit the hydraulics so I can just lower it a little bit or move it left and right. I got to constantly get into the forklift, get back out. So it makes changing the 3-jaw and 4-jaw a little bit difficult. And the gantry, well, unfortunately, it's not wide enough to go down the rows of my machines. So, do I cut it and extend it? I mean, there are several YouTube videos of YouTube creators doing that, making that modification to this, style of gantry crane. But I thought, well, I still got to grab this and I still got to roll it over there and then roll it back. And then what happens if I got a project out on the floor and I can't get the gantry into position, or I can't get the forklift? Well, a jib crane would be perfect. And then some of you guys may suggest, well, why not a sky hook? Well, have you priced sky hooks? I mean, even used ones sell for $400 or $500 on eBay or Craigslist or something. So we can build one for just a little bit more than that. I mean, I don't know if the camera's picking up the material, but so far I've pretty much got everything, and I've only got about $500 here in material. So I'm ahead of the game right now. I guess probably the easiest thing is just grab the camera and just show you the materials and kind of talk about the direction we're going to go. And I guess we should stave off any keyboard warriors here. They're going to say, Tom, you're building a jib crane and they're not engineered plans, and bus loads of nuns and boxes of puppies are all going to die because of what you're doing. Well, just whoa, hold your horses. We're going to be okay. All right. This is going to be extremely derated. We're not lifting the world with this thing, first off, and second off, we're not going to try to just pull a design out of the air. What we're going to do is basically do a copy of a Gorbel. Their engineers have already figured out all the whatnots, so that's what we're going to do. And we're going to try to build it as short as possible and as stubby as possible, so that helps to eliminate the mechanical advantage of wanting it to pull over, because obviously the taller it is and the farther out your I-beam is, the more mechanical advantage you have of wanting it to tip. So if we can shorten both, then I think we'll come out as a win. So let me grab the camera and show you the goodies. This is a corner of my shop that you guys probably don't see a lot of. I originally had dedicated it to automotive work, mainly working on my stuff, not really having customers come in. I did have an automotive lift in there. I just pulled that out, so it was just kind of wasted space. So I'm kind of redesigning this area. Gonna have my saw area over here, and at some point in time I wanted to acquire a iron worker and also a radial arm drill, and those two pieces of machinery will go here. So those are on my wish list. But anyway, so scrapyard scores for this jib crane. Got this piece of I don't know if you want to call it pipe or tubing. It's a 12-inch inside diameter, and it is 3/8 wall thickness. And I don't remember the length, but it's got plenty of length. I think it's about 10 or 11 feet, but we're going to chop some of that off. And for the base, got a big piece of plate here. This is 1-inch thick plate. It is 36 by 48, basically 3 feet by 4 feet. And she's coming in at 500 pounds. So we're going to have a fair amount of weight there at the bottom, which will be good. These are going to be cut into gussets at the bottom. That plate's 1/2 inch thick, and it's currently weighing in just a little over 100 pounds. So you think we got 600 pounds just right there on the ground. Not to mention the weight of, some of this tubing, I guess we'll call it. And then you saw my build on the rollers. So that's what the rollers are for, is to put this big baby on it so we can rotate this thing as we cut it and weld it. So I said all this together is about $500. I still got to get the upper plates, or almost we call them the wings, and then a couple other pieces to help build the top part where the bearing is going to sit. So like I said, we're way ahead. I've been looking at used jib cranes, and cheapest I found, there's a guy in Texas that's got about 6 of them at the size I would want, and he's wanting about $3,000. So initial cost, and then shipping from Texas here, obviously be freight. I don't know what, a minimum of $1,000, probably more. So let's just call it $4,000, just as an even number. I mean, we'll have this build alone, I think we'll be pushing to have $1,000 in it. So we're going to come out way ahead. And the plan is to stick it right here, so that way I can service the big jet lathe, getting the chucks on and off, and also big pieces of work, swing her around. And as I get older, I'm not going to be grabbing the Kurt Weisses as often, and 120-pound rotary table and whatever else. So I'm kind of thinking about the future, so that way I can reach both milling machines, to help get stuff on and off. And of course, if I ever have anything out here that I want to just lift and work on, the jib crane will reach it. Now, ideally, the plans for the Gorbels is, you cut a 4 foot by 4 foot hole, 4 feet deep, and then you fill it with rebar and concrete. If you saw Keith Rucker putting his recent acquisition up, I think last summer, he showed him doing that. Now, I'm not going to put a big hole in my floor, but then again, we're not going to lift 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 pounds or more. I'm thinking about rating this thing at maybe 500 pounds at the most. We'll be lifting something up. So I think we're going to be plenty fine with all the anchor bolts I put in there, and with all the weight that's on the bottom. I think we'll be fine. We're not going to have any issues there. So I guess without further ado, I think the first thing what I want to do is I want to cut this thing down to length, and then it's got a couple holes in it, so I need to close up the holes. So let's get this thing wheeled out and find a good comfortable position, and I guess just start hacking away. All right. course it's got to rip. Hey Chaos, hi. Hello to everybody on YouTube. All right. I've come up with the length I need, and I had to figure out a good way to cut a straight line. Just pulling off of this end here. You guys can see, obviously it's torch cut. It did a pretty good job, but it's still got some waviness to it. So as I pulled a measurement off of this edge, you know, it's going to transfer down to there, so it's not going to be straight. So I just, you know, pulled tape, figured the best spot. Got her marked here, and then just use the old school method. Cut that piece out for a template. So now she goes around. The circumference will be straight. Now I know some of you are saying, hey Tom, why not just hook it up in the lathe and turn it? And I would love to. Matter of fact, I was excited to, because I could get it up there, and I feel like Curtis down there in Australia with doing some big stuff, but it's not going to fit in my steady rest. Steady rest is not large enough inside here to handle that. So that's why we're doing it this way, and that's why I built the rollers. So she rolls nicely. So sorry for the shakiness, but so we're gonna have to cut her. I'm thinking I'm gonna try plasma. My unit's only a 50 ampere, so it'll do 3/8 clean, but you know, it's gonna take a while. So I may be hitting the duty cycle on her a couple times, so if that's the case, we'll see how it goes. I may switch over to oxyacetylene, don't know. But let me get set up and we'll get started. Well, it went faster than I thought. I didn't get the camera turned on. All right, well, we got a pretty good clean cut. A little plasma cutter. Did great, didn't shut off once. Thought I could get through with the tip that I had on it, but it was getting a lot of blowback and wasn't cutting straight through. It was curved a little bit, so I changed the tip once I did that. you can see we got a nice clean cut. All right. I think what we want to do now, since it's still in a good position, go ahead and get all the holes welded up. Got a spoon for a backer on the big ones. Small ones won't need it. Let's see, I may need a new battery in my helmet. I got flashed. Try this again. New battery in the helmet. Got all the holes welded up that are small enough to weld up. The only thing I got left here is this big one. This is 3 inches in diameter. Hey Chaos, you gonna help? Okay, go get it. We just got back down to the shop today, and he is still wound up. I gotta wear him out a little bit, as you can tell. But so what I'll do is I'll cut out a replacement plug here out of this extra piece, and then I'll just weld it in there, and I'll bring you back for that. And let me continue with playtime. All right, bud. I know, full calories today, aren't you? Energy, energy, energy. Must nice to be young. Actually, he just turned 6 like last week. Didn't you, bud? Say, I had the steak dinner too, Daddy. Thank you. Big holes all welded up. I think what I want to do now is move on to prepping the base. Since we got a nice day, we can take it outside, clean it up outside, and not have all that dirt and grime and everything else slung all around the shop.
As you saw previously, got the holes laid out. So we got 14 1-inch holes to drill. Got the mag drill out with the annular cutter there, so should make fairly quick work out of it. Let me get you set up. We'll put some holes in this baby. Holes all done. Good thing about annular cutters, they leave you those nice plugs, you know, you can maybe do something with. But on the other hand, boy, does it leave a mess. I guess the camera's picking it up, I don't know. Alright, let me get all this cleaned up. I decided to work smarter, not harder on that long column. Forget trying to wire wheel that thing. So I got paint stripper on her now. I'll give it about half an hour. So while it's working, we'll go ahead and cut the gussets out. So I've got it laid out. So I got 6 gussets here out of that piece. Like I said, it's 1/2 inch thick, and the gussets will be 2 feet tall. So got the trusty old Milwaukee metal cutting saw with carbide tip blade, and it makes it easy work. Well, that's as far as I got with this carbide tip saw blade. She's dull, won't cut anymore. So I'd gotten a little time on her previously, but we got through this piece and almost got through here. Almost got 2 done. So got another one ordered. Alrighty, so the next step in this project is we need to start working on the top of the post. So I got this piece of plate cut out from my local guy down the road. It's just easier sometimes just to have him buzz something out than for me to try to do it. Not to mention this is 1/2 inch thick, and I didn't have a large enough piece of 1/2 inch to make this out of. I just have some small scraps right now. So he buzzed this out. So this is the diameter of the post itself, and I just have a nominal 1.5 inch hole. So what we need to do now is basically make a stub shaft that the bearing is going to sit on. If you guys can see that, I just came up with kind of a rough sketch. And then this part here, that'll go into this piece of plate, and we'll weld the bottom up, and then we'll chuck it back up in the lathe and finish OD turning that to the ID of the bearing. So got this tapered roller bearing. The ID here is 1 3/4 of an inch, and I'm not sure what the OD is of the race, but I just talked to my neighbor and I said, hey, what size bearings you running on your 18-wheeler truck spindles? So this is what this is. So if this will handle, 80,000 pounds, this will laugh at me putting, 200, 300, 400 pounds on on the I-beam, right? And for those who are curious, the bearing numbers are 3782, and I think oh man, this is crazy. I think it's like $13 or something. Obviously this is
not a high quality one. I mean, it says, well, torqueusa.com, but it doesn't necessarily mean it was made in the USA. Here's our other numbers. So that 3782, I guess, replaces. So now it's actually a TR406S. Oh, got this chunk of 4140 that we'll make it out of. So let's get over to the Monarch and we'll get turning. A little dished in the middle. See, we need to come 1 inch. This doesn't have to be precision, and you guys can't see nothing, sorry. We're just going to be welding this part, so that looks good enough. Alright, we got a lot to whittle down, so let me get the spray mist coolant set up. Let me up the feed rate so we can get some chip breakage here. A little better.
think we're just a few thou yards, but we'll figure out check. Yep. Alright. Alright, after some fiddling around, because this hole is not perfectly round from the flame cup, we're in there. So, a little bit of rock, but I had to clear that right there. I don't know if you can see it when the torch started. Alright, let's get this welded up. Set up over here with my rotary table. We're looking pretty good. So. Alright, looks good. Let that cool off, and then we'll get back over the Monarch and we'll turn it down to size. Back over the Monarch, already did at a facing pass. You can kind of see how wobbly she is. So the heat pulled it just a little bit. Just took my last pass, and I think there we are where we need to be. See if that bearing slides on. We don't need an interference fit, we just need a nice good sliding fit. Move the dial gauge back. There we go. Good enough room. There we go. Nice. That should work. Trying to see if we got any rock. I don't think we do. Just the cage is rocking, not the actual bearing itself. Nice. Sweet. Alrighty, I'm gonna break this edge and then I gotta clean up that face. There she is, all complete. I don't know if the camera's picking up or not. Not real happy about that. Tried to grab the tool post and run the carriage back, but the camera was in the way and the chip shield was in the way, so I couldn't get it. And you can see we still had a little bit of tool deflection when I cut, so then when I dragged it back, she now has a spiral. Polish it a little bit, but it's kind of like too deep to continue polishing it, because otherwise I'm gonna change the diameter. But and a little bit of chatter on the face when I clean the face up, but that's all right. Nobody's gonna see it. The bearing's gonna ride there. So I think we're still good. All right. Well, that was fun. I finally got them all cut. Got a new blade. Got almost through it, and that blade gave out. So, kind of pushing the limit with that blade and the saw. This maximum is 1/2 inch, which is what we're cutting. So, I end up having to finish like just a couple with the plasma. So, we got a little bit of a flame cut edge we got to clean up. You know, I wanted the saw because it'd give me a nice straight edge. I mean, even with a guide or a fence, you know, pulling the torch, you still get a little bit of blowback here and there. So, set up over here, and I'm just going to start cleaning them up. I don't have a good way to lift this thing up, so went into my scrap bin, found a couple of these, so we'll weld them in here, and this will give me a lift point so I can get this thing up in the air. Second one welded in. Now what we can do is run a strap in there, Put it on a D-hook and lift her up. Got some rock to her. Yeah. That's not gonna be good. So from this view, you can see the plate. Looks like it's got just a little bit of a bend, or it's warped, but it is compounded because of the crappy job the guys did on my floor. So look at this level here, 4-foot level. So we're basically in between the lines and the bubble, and then you come over here and you can see, sorry about the handheld, I'm on my knees, the gap I got. So yeah, this concrete area is low, and I guess it's compounded a little bit by this plate being warped just a smidgen. Don't you just hate that when it happens? I knew it would be close, but I thought we'd get it all the way up before I ran out of distance between the chain fall and the column itself. So, oh well, I mean, we are like almost there. I was hoping to use the gantry crane because it's just a lot easier and smoother, but I guess I'll go ahead and fire up the forklift, and we'll have to do it that way. Let me see if I can do this holding the camera. Oh, can you guys see that? That's about as good as I can get it. I got a shim in there. And then, well, you're probably gonna get blown out from the light. Let me do it over here. So we are good that way. Of course, this is the other side, basically. Happy with that. Opposite side of the right below us is the shim, so got it pretty good. That's thinking about the best I can get it. As I start to drive it in, the pole moves and I can't get much more under it, so we'll just have to shim it, and that will be about as best as I can get, and hopefully it'll be good to go. So let me go ahead and start running some bead down the bottom. So starting over here, I was hoping it'd pull a little bit, and it did. It is magic. So we are good. That worked out perfect. Come over here, the opposite side, of course. Looking good. You can see that gap there. So. All right, let me finish running a bead around her. Just finished welding up the column to the base plate. I did 3 passes. I think it looks pretty good. So that shouldn't go anywhere. Got a little bit of gap over here between those two, but I had to go high because if you remember, you know, it pulled, so I had a larger gap in there to try to fill. So those 2 toes, I guess, aren't connected exactly perfect, but good enough for what I'm doing. So now let me get all the gussets tacked and in place. Well, first gusset in place. This is my setup. We're looking pretty good. I think what I want to do is just go ahead and get this one tacked in, and then I'll get the other 5 tacked in, and then you know, we'll just send them on home. All right, guys, I've got all the gussets tacked in, so I'm gonna go ahead and burn all these in, but there's no need for you guys to see that. You know, it's just laying bead. So I figured this is probably a good time to end the video for part 1. I imagine I got a lot of footage, and part 1's probably going to run a little bit long. So I apologize on one end, but I know there's quite a few viewers that like the longer videos. So if you do, then hey, this one will probably be for you. And coming up, I guess video number 2, you know, we've got to get this welded up there on the top. You know, this is where the bearing's going to ride. So for lack of, I don't know, better nomenclature, we'll just call that the carriage. So, you know, in part 2, we got to build the carriage.
that rotates up there on this bearing and obviously holds the I-beam. So that'll be coming up. And I apologize for the lack of videos for the last couple weeks, but I've been working on this, and this is not a project that you can do in a week and get a video out. I've probably been working on this obviously several weeks, and as I just got this wrapped up, got a paid job that came in the door, so that's cool. Finally, some repair work is coming in now that spring is here. So I'll get that videoed, and maybe I'll get that posted after this video. So we'll see how it goes. But I appreciate you sticking with me, and welcome all my new subscribers to the channel. And as I always say, thanks to all my old subscribers for hanging with me. Mr. Chaos has been sulking over there because I've been busy grinding and welding and not playing with him, so he's not happy with me today. Anyways, we'll see you on the next video, guys. Take care, and bye. Okay. Oh, God, Chaos, hang on. You're in the what? Hang on, just wait. You're gonna get all. Hang on. Okay.